Fellow auto detailers, welcome to the show that features interviews with today's most successful auto detailers. This is the Auto Detailing Podcast. Here's your host, Jimbo Balaam.
What's up, everyone, and welcome back to this episode. Today, we're talking with Joe Nucifora from Queensland, Australia, and man, he drops almost an hour worth of knowledge from just diversification of services to how he handles that to employees, to becoming the new Auto Fiber Australia distributor, and just a ton of good stuff. So it's been a few weeks since we've had an interview episode, and Joseph definitely nailed this one, so big thanks to him. And I would definitely encourage you guys to reach out to him, connect with him, and all that good stuff. So enjoy this episode with myself and Joseph Nucifora. All right, what's up, everyone? Welcome back to this episode of the Auto Detailing Podcast. It's actually been a little while that we've had a interview episode, but I'm excited. We have a return guest with some exciting announcements and movements in his business, and these are honestly one of the type of podcast I love the most to kind of continue along people's journey. So with that, I welcome Joseph Nucifora from Queensland. Hey, how's it going, man?
Good, thank you.
And I promise I wouldn't embarrass myself or you with a Australian accent, even though I love the Australian people. And
give it a go. Just give it a go.
Aussie, oi, oi, oi. How was that?
British, but I was okay.
So I promise one day I'm making it down there, and my friends in New Zealand as well. So anyway,
yes.
Now that I've embarrassed myself, congratulations on the baby coming, and catch us up to speed with what's going on with you.
Yeah, mate. Oh, awesome. Well, thanks again for having me. So we've got a car detailing workshop. We've got a workshop and we're mobile as well, which I know we talked a lot about in our first episode or interview together, I should say. So a little bit of change there. We just keep on refining our business and everything. But we've also become the Australian exclusive distributor of auto fiber, microfiber here in Australia since about Christmas time, which is really, really awesome. It's only been going for a few months now, but that's been really a fantastic opportunity for us. We just keep on diversifying our services so that we're not just strictly about cleaning cars, protecting cars. We're trying to have different forms of income coming in so that when something, say, like a virus comes around, we're not just relying strictly on detailing cars as much as that's a core part of our business. We got to make sure we have a few different incomes coming in, especially too when you got a pretty a couple of staff, and it's not just you got to worry about it. It's other people too that you want to really help care for. And so we're moving forward. We're kicking goals, but there's always hurdles along the way. Bigger the business, bigger the problems, I think.
For sure,
I don't know how some of the guys with 20 staff do it. That's insane. Like, kudos to those guys. They must have an amazing team as well. So yeah, mate. So that's a little bit of an update anyway. And so we obviously got a baby girl on the way in July, and we've already got a son who's nearly 2. So so running a business and little kids, what a combination. You must know all about that.
I do. It's tough. It's not easy, but it's not easy.
It's fun.
It is fun, and it gets a little easier as the kids get older and it changes and stuff. And I always like to say, like, it's never going to get much tougher than having a couple kids and trying a growing business and employees and diversifying and start. I look at like every income stream as like almost a new business, and it takes a while for that business to grow a little bit. So you almost have like a baby business and a baby at home, and you're trying to like manage both of those at the same time, and it's pretty challenging. But
it's like trying to do two things you have no idea about.
100%. Bring us into the decision to kind of take over the Auto Fiber Australia distributorship. What what was kind of the motivation behind that? I mean, I love
Yep.
what you said with you want to diversify. I think that's what's really going to come out of this thing. I actually think detailers might increase volume during this time, depending upon if they can diversify within their services a little bit. But there's always opportunity in downtimes. But I don't want to dwell too much on downtimes. But tell us about the decision to diversify, or
Yeah.
diversify with bringing in a distributorship.
Yeah, for sure. Well, crazy thing is that, auto fiber, I first heard about that through your podcast, right? Talking about
right.
auto fiber but we didn't have it here in Australia at first. And so, using Costco cloths and other brands that would come to Australia, was sort of our only option. But then, the opportunity come to where a distributor did start up in Australia. Fantastic guy to deal with, located on the other side of the country, which is pretty much like from your, west coast to the east coast of the US.
I learned that Australia. I used to think Australia was this little dinky country, and I learned.
No.
I don't know if maybe it was even the podcast that we did. Australia
Probably.
is almost as big as the United States, right?
Yeah,
not with people, but land.
Pretty much, and with the population of California.
Right.
So very
Sounds
different.
amazing, by the way.
A big desert in the middle of it with nothing except rocks and camels and kangaroos,
I'm
etc.
geographically challenged, so forgive me.
Yeah, no worries, man. You can study it after. But so we started buying the microfiber through the guy who was selling it, and really, really loved it. And part of me was just, I don't know, one time I just said to him, I said, hey man, like, how things going? And they got pretty good, but then we got in a conversation. I was like, dude, I love what you're doing. If ever I can help you, let me know. Whether because he's on the West Coast, the majority of the population is on the East Coast, and there was just a little bit of logistics issues getting stock to the East Coast, where 90% of the population is. So so long story short, he wanted to have a bit of change up, and he pretty much offered it to us to buy off him and take over, and really awesome to deal with. And he still buys auto fiber product from us as well, and is a big believer and is pretty much an advocate for us. And I got to say too, Ockett, he had just a one-man band. I think so. He was running a detailing business and doing what we're doing now, running a detailing business and auto fiber. So I would probably say it would be safe to say it's a bit more of a stretch for him with, he was doing everything by himself. Whereas we got more of a team here. We got a workshop, we got a place to store it. And I've always wanted to get into an online store. It's always been a goal of mine. I need to have something where it doesn't require me machine polishing a car or someone, it just wants me to buy it, package it, send it out, and market it. Mm-hmm. So it took a little while to get it all going and get shipping going from the US, because I had to redo all their prices. The current prices were just way too cheap, and we had to just go back to reality, the value of it. And the US, the Australian dollar has just been absolutely terrible against the US dollar. So so that's probably been the biggest hurdle. It's the shipping, and the cost, not so much the cost of auto fiber. I think it's really well priced. So whoever's in the US, if you're saying it's too expensive, you got no idea. It's well worth every penny. So that's been something to really work through, because that's all the finance stuff is I'm all pretty new to that. So we got our first shipment over just after Christmas in January, which was really exciting. And the great thing about it, I love, Jimbo, is that I've purposely made it that we're only stocking microfiber that we actually use ourselves in our detailing business.
Yep.
Because we're working this out. Me and my wife are working this out, and it's just what happens if nothing sells?
Right.
And it's we've got all this microfiber. That's a lot of Christmas presents for the next 20 years. Where who knows what's next after microfiber, but it's a lot of re-gifting. And so like, let's not go too crazy yet, just because they start small. Buy stuff that we know that works well, that we use.
Smart.
And that people that trust me, I know that trust my opinion, will buy from me because of my opinion about it. Not that I'm some great influencer, but when you have a friendship, you got trust. And so so that's been that worked really well. And like in the first 2 months, I think we've sold more than 50% of what was sold last year.
Wow.
Yeah, so we've had some good sales, and it's been a lot of learning for me, just learning how to do online stores and all that kind of stuff. But it's such a great product. Really, really love it. And have I answered the question partly?
No, totally. And I think you answered it and gave some great information as far as stuff like making sure that you're only buying what you use as kind of a safety net of like, hey, just in case, like you said, just in case, it doesn't work, we could still use this stuff,
Yeah, exactly. I just think like, it's because if you don't have a massive reserve, which I don't think a lot of businesses in general do. I don't think a lot of businesses do.
I'll tell you what, they definitely don't. If you look at how everyone's freaking out over a stimulus package, at least here in the States, I think the number's crazy. Like over 60% of at least people in the U.S. can't handle a $1,000 emergency.
Yes.
And so,
right. Which is why I listen to a bit of Dave Reams. You probably know who he is. He talks about having an emergency fund, and now that makes sense.
Yep, definitely.
When you're committing to buying, and we're buying by the boxes,
sure.
And Ian from Autofiber's been amazing with that. And people trying out microfiber, it's also an expense for them. So we're trying to make it so that I've just created an item where they get like pretty much one of each towel sort of thing. So it's like a test and try pack. As just because I know you guys do the towel of the month over there, which I think is amazing. But logistically, it is like extremely expensive here. Right. Shipping costs more than the towels do.
I think it's a really a loss leader here. I don't know that for sure, but
yeah, I reckon it is too. But to start with, it's like we haven't really had to do that, right. Which has been an awesome. But I'm not ruling it out. Like down the track, I think that's going to be something that's so powerful because it does. It's like a small investment. You go out on a limb. People like free stuff, and they're more inclined to test it. And we're not what detailers are like. Give me a sample. Mm-hmm. And when they do get a sample, like the saver applicators. We've sent a few of those out, and it builds a lot of rapport with detailers. But I love working with detailers around Australia. Like it's so different. You don't have that. Not that I really do to begin with have that competitor mindset. Like I really don't like having that, even in our city where we are located with other detailing businesses. There's enough work for everyone. But I love it. It's like you're all on the same team when you're providing a product for them because you're trying to help. Excuse me. You're trying to help them. You're trying to better their business and provide a solution. As an entrepreneur, you want to, we're problem solvers. We want to provide a solution for people, which I know you talk about, find a problem in about someone's car and then provide a solution. Like that's what we do as detailers, as business people. And having Autofiber has really enabled us to do that too. Say, hey, details like there's more than just the Costco costs.
Right.
As good as they are for just general purpose and one-time use for compound removal or whatever, like let's not be ashamed to use them. I think they have a great place for detailers. But there's much better quality cloths out there. No offense, anyone from Costco listening, your stuff's great.
They're probably not listening.
They're probably freaking out right now, to be honest.
Yeah, they're probably restocking shelves.
Yeah, Christmas Eve every day.
Right.
After just really using the products myself, I've really got to actually believe in them. I feel like I've just signed up to I don't know, some like marketing conspiracy thing, but
Right.
it
I hear
actually
you.
is fantastic. Yeah. Especially as when you're a detail that uses every day, you've got that leg up. You're not just a coding company saying, yeah, this coding's the best. You know how
Right.
they can just all sell their coding. It's different to all the others, you know, and but really they're not really hands-on doing it, working on every kind of paint in the market. Where for me, we are doing that. We are using this cloths on with all different kinds of compounds of all different kinds of paint, so we know what kind of cloths work better with which kind of compounds and which drying towels work better on which kind of cars. Yeah, so it's a great opportunity to help other detailers in business.
And do you have a lot of your customers? So, a customer that comes in for a detail, do you see
Yeah,
them
yep.
picking up more towels or picking up towels,
Yes.
or is that an added revenue stream?
Yeah. So we used to always want to upsell clients with, a wash pack, drying towel, drying aid. So we've been able to really incorporate that into just our detailing customers, which is
Hmm.
obviously how we, have our detailing business as a backup. If we don't sell it online, we can sell it through the store. And we just call it a detailing day where we invite a car club to our workshop on a Saturday. We host a lunch or breakfast, and we teach them. We do like live demonstrations of how to
Mm.
maintain your car. I know some guy. I've listened to one of your podcasts where one of the guys did a car show. That is my goal.
Yep.
Doing
Paul
a
Frasco.
hosting. Yeah, yeah, and I need to give that guy a call because I keep thinking about him.
Hmm.
And and
Great idea, huh?
yeah, yeah, and like we sold a lot of. Nearly everyone bought a drying towel. Nearly everyone bought the flip
Wow.
glass cleaning
Yep.
towels because they were showed how to use it properly.
Right.
So having product that works and as another way to make money at the end of the day, but also help your clients is so good. Yeah, so we try and sell it to our customers, and they love it how so much about the product, and it's not just a Armor All cloth or something like that. It's something they've never. No one know. Like the general public do not know about auto fiber here, and it could be like that in the US as well because there's just so many different brands you can choose from.
Yeah. Do
So
they know about microfiber? Because I would say in
yes.
here, even I guess microfiber, it's known, but I guess it's well known, but it's not like, I don't know. Maybe
Well, you can go to the shopping, like your local grocery store and buy a microfiber cloth. So they're like, "Oh yeah, I've got one of those." I'm like, "No, you don't.
got it.
You've got like the thinnest microfiber cloth. My toilet
Right.
paper's thicker than that,
Right.
like
Right.
and there's a great shortage of that at the moment. So
Yep. There too, huh?
and so yeah, yeah, man,
So
gold.
funny.
So it's just, I try and educate the customer and I try and find out where they got it from. Oh, I don't know. I think I
Hmm.
just got it from here. And, it was like 10 cloths for $10 and, just
Mm.
from the hardware store. And, it's that thin, you can see through
Yep.
the mesh
Yep.
of the
Yep.
microfiber. And yeah, so it's just educating the customer in a very polite way. It's not like, look how smart I am and pointing out how uneducated they are. You don't want to. I don't believe that's the best way to do it at all.
Right.
It's always about just showing them the benefits and what it could be for them. Yeah, so just showing them, hey, this is a different kind of microfiber, and here are the reasons why. And yeah, and then they start, oh yeah, my cloth isn't that good at all, and that might be why my car's getting scratched, and all that kind of stuff. So just educating them on the different kinds of microfiber, which you and Ian have done some awesome podcasts about. Um, and when he's talked about, the difference between how, like the history of microfiber, like, man,
Hmm.
you could study about that. Like, that's insane.
Right. What other
It sounds so
services?
funny.
No, but when you get into it, it's actually very interesting. Because you
Yeah, it
learn
is.
what is important, what's not important, what facts people talk about, or what specs people talk about that don't actually
Yeah.
really matter. What
Well,
specs actually do matter. You know,
yeah. Well, if I can add to that, it's like,
for sure.
I believe with ceramic coatings over the years, like we've actually, this is our 10th year in business. Like we're coming up to being in business for 10 years with Clean Getaway Car Detailing in July. And over the years of ceramic coatings, I remember when they first sort of were pumping out, when it really hit the peak, 2014, 15, I think would have been like the peak years, back where Facebook was really cheap to advertise on, in 2016 as well. Those were the days. And it was all about the 9H, and it was always about the SR2 and the silicon carbide, dioxide, monoxide, peroxide, all those words that everyone was, trying to use to show how smart they were. And we tried to learn so much about the coating, but we wouldn't really care about looking into microfiber or like, other things. And so it's so important to know the fine details about microfiber. It's not just, there's so many different kinds of microfibers, like you can go from one shop, buy a rag for $1 or 30 cents from Costco, or you could buy one for $5, $6, $7 from Autofiber, or, whatever the value is in your country. But, learning those small little details is so important. The same way it is when you're trying to sell someone a paint correction or shampoo extraction. Why use shampoo extraction over steam cleaning or vice versa? Like those details are just as important when you're selling microfiber, because if you're giving it to them to maintain their car, they need to know exactly how to use it, what to do and what not to do, so that they don't come back saying, oh, there's swirls, and because they've been using the cloth totally incorrectly than what they're meant to do in the first place, if that makes sense.
Totally.
So it's all very important.
Totally does. What other ways have you diversified your services or increased? I think right now more than ever is the time that detailers can get ideas of other revenue generating activities.
Yep. No, definitely. So that's been really important, trying to find other ways we can diversify. So last time we chatted, I talked about really trying to get into penetration film. I won't lie, that's been so hard.
I've heard.
So hard. And yeah, I know, right? Like when people say it is an investment, it really is. And this isn't to scare people, but this is probably just to give more people a realistic, idea about it. But if you can devote the time, effort, and I guess too, because in Australia, getting training is really difficult. Like we don't have training cinemas and happening like you guys have in the US, which is awesome for you. Like that's fantastic. So getting proper training is not the easiest thing to do unless we go to the US, which is a great holiday. But so doing PPF, we've tried to get into that a little bit, but I'm just really taking my time because it's such a high ticket item. It's like, if we're going to do it, we got to do it right.
Right.
And we've made mistakes, and I've made mistakes, and I've had to refund people because I'm just like, no way am I can allow them to pay the price that I originally asked for this. Like, it's just not right. So when that happens, it sort of scares you. So you sort of take a step back and put it on the back burner. But that's something we're really trying to work towards, even just offering people a vinyl wrap, like getting someone in, someone who's awesome at it, and work together, like get a bit of a relationship. So vinyl wrapping, people say, oh, I want to get some stripes on my Mustang, or I want to vinyl wrap this. So yeah, we can offer that. And always make out to the customer that it's your business is doing. I believe it's not good to say, yeah, we'll get someone in to do that. Because then that can just make them think, oh, well, I'll just go find someone who I know will do it themselves.
Right.
So own it, but also own the mistakes. Like take responsibility of it, but make sure that the tradesman or the contractor knows it's there. Like they need to have your level of detail. Because even I find vinyl wrap guys, as awesome as they are, sometimes they don't see what we as detailers see. And maybe we don't see things that they see, but as a detailer, it's like, man, can you really not see those dots in the film? I've had that. Maybe it's just people I've used, but so vinyl wrap is such a good opportunity because people like having things blacked out and whatnot. Yep. And if for interiors, so with all the Teslas and everything like that, so vinyl wrap. To paint touch-ups, we have a contractor come in and do paint touch-ups because I do not want to get into paint. And so having someone come in and we just add on like 20% just so that covers the cost of and make a little bit of money on the side, and also just giving that customer that really good experience.
Sure.
As well as PDR. We will offer people PDR. No way am I going to learn that.
That's a nightmare too. I tried that one.
I've heard you've done that. Yeah.
It's a nightmare.
And once again, listen to your podcast like that helped me. It was like, yeah, I need to offer that to customers. Like, so we just did a Toyota four-wheel drive. It's like it's called a Toyota Prado, a Land Cruiser Prado. Okay. And we did a full showroom.
I wish we had those in the States. I love those.
Yes, they're the soccer mum's car, right? So they're awesome. And so, it came in for a full detail. And like, machine polish, shampoo extraction, the whole lot. And we did all the touch-ups as well. It was white, so it was pretty touched up all the paint, like around the doors and the stone chips, and then we did PDR as well. So after we did everything, it just looked, and our contractors did the work, it just looked amazing. And it was just that experience. The customer brings in this filthy, dirty car. Not only is it detailed, the dents are taken out, the stone chips are touched up, and you could learn all that yourself, but leverage and delegation is so good as a business owner. Like, I'm listening again to the E-Myth Revisited book, and it just talks so much about the entrepreneur, the technician and the manager. And sometimes we can just try and be all of them, and then we fail at all of them. So it's really good to just build a good relationship. This is just what I've experienced. This is going from my experience. So if people disagree, that's totally okay. And yeah, so touch-ups, doing that, and window tinting is really easy. I think you might do that. Do you offer that for your customers? Do you have a contractor?
I don't. I did, and then I don't currently.
Didn't work out?
Yeah.
Yep, and that's what happens. Hey, like I've gone through a few like vinyl wrappers just because I'm just like I just don't know if their culture can work with mine. It's not that we're better than them, or they're not good enough, but you want to find that fit where if something does go wrong, you can have a conversation about it. They can own up, fix it, and everything's good. Like, you got the relationship is so important. But yeah, our window tinter is amazing. And he's originally mobile, but he'll come to us. He uses the film we want him to use. If there's issues, there's been parts where we've had to redo windows. He'll come up, he'll fix it, won't charge us for it because his responsibility to check over the car, put the car outside, and I just believe it's just what it's like in business. You got to take responsibility. But window tinting, I believe, would be one of the easiest things to diversify in. If you do have, especially if you've got a workshop, or if you bring people to your house, if you're doing coatings and on new cars or whatnot. So so window tinting is another thing we diversify into. And also we've just recently got into an awesome opportunity of like a car security system.
Okay.
Where so it's a software that we connect to. I'll just real broadly talk about it, but where it's like you have to use the buttons on your car, like your steering wheel and like your window buttons, door buttons, or your aircon buttons, where before you start your car, you put a code in and then you turn your car on.
Interesting.
Yes.
And it won't let you turn it on until you type in the code?
Exactly.
Got it.
Yep. So this is another form of protection for people with high-end cars, where they're paying $800 or $1,000. And, you could say it's got similar margins to doing a ceramic coating or whatever. But it's the fact that, you're dealing with wires, and we get an auto electrician to help us do this. Someone that is, done the training, and we're not just, mucking around with a Ferrari.
Right.
Something. So, it is
because you're wiring it directly to the car.
Yeah.
Got it.
Yeah, exactly. And it is very safe. We would never want to jeopardize, a high-end car, or just any car in general. But it only really works on modern day cars with ECUs. So we did a new Mercedes, and we haven't pushed it much yet. But that's something we want to. And I think as a detailing shop, the things you can offer are pretty much endless. Hey, I know you've talked about it a lot. It's so true. You can just offer so many different services to people. My wife's got a hair salon upstairs in our workshop. So it's like, hey, get your car clean. We'll cut your hair. We'll do everything, just no waxes, no waxing. The only waxing we do it on cars,
right.
Yeah.
So, Yes.
Yeah,
The only
yeah,
waxing being done here is on cars, not
yeah,
on
on cars.
bodies.
Yeah, that's exactly right. So, um, yeah, so it's because in times like this where everything's just changing, and technology is moving forward, we wouldn't be able to be where we are now if we didn't diversify, like step out, take
Mm,
risks. And so it's been great to be able to be in a place and just I think just in a time, an era like 2020 where we can have offer people different services. It's so cool that we can do that.
totally. Where do you? So, are you kind of at the maximum number of kind of diversified services that you want to offer, and now it's about time to like grow each and every one of those, or what do you kind of see in the next, I don't know, couple years, year?
Yeah, that's a really good question because I actually don't know. Like, I think there's more things out there we can offer clients, and I believe the security car system is security system for cars. Sorry, is such a good opportunity because it doesn't involve me all the time, which is fantastic.
Mm,
And it's not a long um, like it doesn't take long to do on a car. So importance for when you have a shop is we've had issues where we've had too many cars in the workshop.
mm.
And it's like, oh man, we got this guy working on PDR, then we're tinting this car, but we got to be doing paint correction on three other cars, and there's nowhere for them to go. And we didn't plan it, we never planned it properly, and or it was raining, so we didn't want to leave cars outside. And man, it's like a car storage shop, in our
Right.
workshop sometimes. And it's like, damn, we needed to plan that better.
Right.
Um, but yeah, like, I think definitely like to answer that question would be, yeah, we do. I think we've really built out our niches of the services we
Hmm.
can provide. So we do need to hone in on those and say, okay, how can we market this? Is the profit that we make on top of these services, like the paint touch ups and the
Mm,
PDR, is it worth investing some advertising money in that,
hmm.
because some services I think they're just good to have for when people, it's like another add-on. It's not so
Right.
much something you want to advertise. It's just a good upsell for someone. It's like,
Totally.
hey, did we notice those stone chips? We actually got our touch-up specialist here today for $150. We can go around your whole car and touch up all the stone chips and whatnot. And so it's just a good add-on where you're not relying on that. But something like window tinting, I think, is very good to that we do invest a little bit of money in marketing, just with like social media, the Instagram ads, and a little bit on Google AdWords. Just because we know there's a good profit margin there, and you're not on the phone for half an hour trying to convince the customer or explain to the customer about tinting like you are when it comes to paint correction and coatings. Sometimes I can be on the phone for 20 minutes, half an hour, and you're really hoping the customer comes through.
Hmm.
And that's not my, like, I'm sure we've all had longer phone calls than that when the customer,
Yeah.
they're that kind of personality that's got to talk through everything, which is totally okay. But that's when you're really hoping, oh man, I just hope they, that's why you don't give them the price straight up, because it's got to also include the cost of the phone call.
Right. But
Like, this is billable hours.
that's a great point. I think even within your diversification, you're diversified with having the add-on services that the customer's already there. They might as well do it, which is a huge way to increase revenue, right? And then there's
Yeah,
the
yeah,
services that people are specifically coming to you for, right?
yeah.
So I love that.
Exactly. Like, we even had like clients when they say, "Look, have my car all week," and I don't really like doing that because it just means there's another car you got to move around. Like,
Yeah,
we
it's kind of
we
a
have a, like
right.
we've got a. Like, I would say if looked at every shop that all detailers have, ours would probably be on the larger side. Like, it's we can fit. We have a in-house wash bay. One, two, three, four, five cars extremely comfortably inside the workshop, even six, sometimes even seven,
Mm,
we could work on. Um, but I don't really like keeping cars for a week because then that just creates opportunities for it to get bumped or like something to happen to it, like
hmm.
someone to, it just gets dusty too, like, so you're forever wiping it down and or moving it. But what I was getting to was, when clients like that happen, we look at their tires and we're like, oh man, their tires are pretty bald. We got a tire shop literally 50 meters down the road. So we said, hey, we can organize that with a wheel alignment. We can actually get this looked at, like someone to paint the leather, or to repaint their wheels. So little things like, if you got a workshop, it's like so many opportunities to upsell people. If they're willing to keep their car with you for a week, they obviously don't need the car, so they've probably got enough money to have another car. And if it's there for a week, they're probably paying for a big service. It wouldn't leave it with you for a week if they're only spending $100. Like, they're obviously, I think the underlying message is, I'll leave with you for how long you need it so that you do a really good job. Like, that's really what they generally mean when they say, I'll give it to you for a week. That's what I believe anyway.
Yeah.
That's what I sort of convey the message as. So it's like, man, how can we help this guy? But then how can we like increase, our profits on this job? Because that's what it's all about. Like, and giving that customer the best experience, keep finding out what they want, what their expectations are, and trying to find ways to fulfill them.
I love that, man. I could listen to you all day. What else did you want to bring up and talk about other than that? I know I think I blindsided you with that whole thing, and you handled it well. Good. So, but yeah.
I love. Oh, thanks. I'd say like it's an ongoing. Like I don't like saying in such a negative way because I'll probably have some that listen to this, but like having staff can be really tough, but it's also really good. It's also so because they release you. So when I talk, I like to be real careful with what I say, because sometimes you can come across as if all staff are just issues and like problems, where that's not true. Like, staff are the biggest blessing you can have in a business. And I don't believe, this is a tough one. I don't know if you have so much of a business if you don't have staff. I don't know. Like, it's hard because you are the business. If it's just you, like it's just you. Like, you're just a job. You're working for yourself. Like, right. And that's not speaking down on it, because man, we've all been there, and you have to be there, right, to start a business.
Right.
But it's like you're the guy that makes it happen, or the man or the woman and it's just you. So if you are just by yourself and you're just having your detailing business, that is awesome. Like, that's fantastic. But when you get staff, it just changes everything. Like, it's no longer you can just do $50 car washes when you have staff, because man, you got to pay them. What we do, like all our guys are on the books. We don't use any contractors for the detailing side of things. So we've got to pay them to travel to jobs and travel back and, all that kind of stuff. So it's like, man, we got to up our prices because we can't afford to pay them to do the job, but we can't afford not to do the job, if that makes sense.
Totally.
Because, you just got the works there. But yeah, so finding out, what we need to charge, having a workshop, what's our hourly rate? Like, what, when you add up all the jobs our guys do, like just say John does, $2,000 worth of work in that week, and he's done 38 hours. Divide 2,000 divided by 38, then you get his average hourly rate, which would be $60 an hour. And it's like, okay, is that enough? Is he like, mechanics charge, I don't know, their hourly rate's like $110, $150 an hour for a mechanic,
right.
Because they know that that's what they're worth, but that's what it takes to run the shop, to pay for all that kind of stuff. So when you switch from being mobile to then having all these overheads, you cannot charge the same amount. Like, you've got all these new expenses, and you got to make sure that you're paying for them, but you're also making money. Because sometimes we've had some months, my wife does the books, and she's like, Joe, like, we didn't make any money last month. Like, we're literally just paying wages and that's it. And like, just enough for us to pay our own rent. And there was no profit, like nothing. And or we went actually back. And so we're using what we made from the month before to pay for this month,
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, okay, what are we doing? What are we doing wrong? Where can we save? Where can we lean down? Like, we always go through like these leaning down stages,
right? Yep.
Where it's like, I'm ringing up, like, I know you talk about it all the time. At some point, ringing up your providers. Hey, we're on this package.
Yeah.
Do we really need it?
Totally.
Can we step down?
Mm-hmm.
Or like, I am stepping down.
Totally.
We just decreased our marketing expenses by about $2,000 a month. Actually, I about $1,600 a month, because I was just like, you know what we're doing over there, I can actually do some of that. I can get this person to do some, save some money there. And it's just, you just constantly got to lean down, because you just start spending. Well, I know we do. We just start spending money on all these different places. It's like, do we really need that? Are we getting a return on that?
Totally.
And so, yeah, so just when you do get staff in your business, like, don't just hire Jenny that you know because she's your mum's best friend, like, or someone you met at, golf or at church or whatever, like, because at the end of the day, you're giving them a job, you're helping them feed their family. Yes, they're helping you, but, at the end of the day, it's a job. Like, it's always going to come back to that business relationship, but you need to have guidelines set up. It's so important, or else so many guys stay small because they've got staff, bridges got burnt, and they're like, I'm never going to do that ever again, and they stay small. And some people, I think, are called to just have a 1-man, 2-man business, and that's totally awesome. But if you want to grow your business, like, you got to do the homework, you got to learn, and you can't just have a hard, like, one bad experience and then never do it. You got to try again and find out, what did we do wrong? But you got to have evaluated experience, I believe, not just experience. Because if you don't have evaluated experience, like, there's a big difference, I believe. John Maxwell, which I love John Maxwell's leaderships podcast. If you want to know how to run a business, if I can say this, like, I'm sure he's definitely not listening to this, but listen, if I can say, Jimbo, for people, I encourage people to listen to John Maxwell's leadership podcast, because it's all about relationships with people, which is so important when you run a business, because you're dealing with things called people.
Yep.
And especially when they're working for you, they need to know their value, they need to know they're cared for, and all that kind of stuff. So, it's just so important to have a good relationship. And if you have a great relationship, you should have really good staff. So there's so many things we could talk about right now. And I'm actually really passionate about it, because I see so many businesses crash and fall because, I had staff, tried that, man, can't believe it. And maybe it's an Australian thing. They just love getting on the whinging bandwagon. It's not funny. And it's like, did you know you're the guy that hired that person? You're the guy that taught that person. You're the guy that person, the common denominator is you. Like, you're the person that trained him. So you're the problem, not the staff. Like
So
you gave
true.
him 2 days to detail a car. You said, go and detail a car. And now you're whinging they can't do it properly. You need to train that guy for like 2 months. Like, you can't just, because, well, man, I could keep going. I better hold back.
No, you're good. You're good. No, it's all good.
But, it's so true though. Like, and I'm sure you've talked to people that even maybe on the podcast where they've maybe whinged about staff, and it's like,
I'm guilty of that, to be honest. Yeah,
I'm guilty too, man.
Yep.
Like, I've taught guys and they've stuffed up, and I'm like, why are they stuffing up? I'm like, wait a minute, I didn't teach that person right, or I didn't realize they need to be taught like this. Not everyone learns the same way as us. Like, we've done 1,000 cars. Of course it makes sense to us.
Totally.
This poor new guy's got no idea. He just likes cars. He likes just looking at pictures of cars. Like, he's never touched a buffing machine. He knows nothing about paint correction or compounds or wash mitts or anything, So, yeah, it's just so important to give people a chance and to take the time to teach them, and not think that you're just teaching yourself, you're teaching someone else. So, yeah, it's so important to really, learn, never stop learning when it comes to people, because just like me and you, like, we're delicate, we got families, we got a personality, and so do our staff. They're so important. If I can say one thing before, if you want to wrap this up, whatever you want to do, but I love it when people say, I've got 20 years experience, I've got 30, 40 years experience. But a lot of the times, I think this is great where, really you've got 1 year experience, but you just photocopied it 19 times. Like, you see what that means. You see detailers, they can say they got a really long, 15, 20 years experience, but they're still causing swirl marks, holograms, all that kind of stuff when they're machine polishing. And it's like, do you really have 20 years of experience? Like, or you just have 20 years of just doing it the same way, and not bettering your skills? So sometimes we can say, we've had 5 years experience, but have we really, is that really evaluated experience? Is that experience of working on it, getting better and better? Or is that just experience of doing the same thing mediocre for the past 5 years? So it's really important I check them up myself. It was like a good self check. It was like, wow, like have I just been photocopying, doing the same thing over and over? Whereas like, yeah, it's experience, but have I grown? Like, have I bettered my skills, or am I just using the same stuff, doing it the same way, not wanting to venture out and try new things? Yeah, I believe that's really important for us to think about, because you see panel beaters 50 years experience, but there's still like sanding marks all through the car. Like, it's just like, really, like 50 years, like that's a long time to not see a sand mark. Like, like so I just think there's guys that have 2 years experience and they blow people out of the water who's been doing it for 10 years like me. There's guys do it 1 year who like way better than me. So sometimes experience isn't everything.
I always hated that that excuse that just be, or not an excuse, but that saying like, well, this is the way we've been doing it for 30 years. I think I've even done podcasts on it, and it's like, just because you've been doing it for however many years doesn't necessarily mean you're doing it the best way, the most efficient way. I mean, I'm sure you're good and you've seen a lot, but I think personally, every time I hire someone or attempt to hire someone, I end up learning more about the way I do things and how I could do it better or differently,
Well, that's the biggest downfall of an empire, right? Like Blockbuster, they've been doing it for years. Then the Netflix guy came along and showed him something and was like, nah, that's never going to work. It's always going to be DVDs. And then Netflix went up and out went Blockbuster. Or it was one of those companies,
Yeah,
so
Blockbuster had the opportunity, I think, I don't think buy Netflix, but partner with them in some way or something.
To them, yeah. Exactly. So, it's the biggest downfall of an empire. And it's, I've heard a great quote. It was something like, if you're still fired up about something you've been doing for years and years, like excited about it, then like you need to like, make sure that you're excited about the right thing. Cause like you can't always be excited about the past. Like, we got to look towards the future and where things are going, and not just, just reminisce about what it used to be like, and stick to the old school stuff, because it will bite you on the bum. We're gonna, like, technology is moving so fast. We constantly got to be like, we're never there. We can never just be complacent and be like, oh yeah, I'm happy with where we are now. Like, because you will get overtaken. Like, someone else is gonna pick up the shovel and start shoveling away. Once you put that tool down, someone else is going to come pick it up, right in front of you. So that's why I really wanted to diversify. Like, auto fiber was just such a great opportunity to, like, man, we could do something great with this. I love it too, because I'm on Instagram, I'm following all these details I've never met before, just watching people commenting, like, just saying, man, that's awesome. Like, seeing what people are doing, what they're working on, like young guys are like 19 with their own little detailing business. I'm like, that was me when I started, 19 years old, and it's like, man, I want to support this guy. And if I can provide something for him to make his business better, like, that is so good. And it's amazing how Instagram and all that works. You follow them, they follow you, and then you can see they start liking photos of yours that you posted up like a month ago. So, okay, he's looking into me. It's like an online dating site.
Right, totally.
It's like, ooh, he liked that photo. That's nice. And then, like, all of a sudden you start talking, and you got guys who are passionate about what you're passionate about. And I'm sure you probably do that a lot too, man. Like, you're so involved with other detailing business owners, and it must be really thrilling to be, well, maybe not, to talk to. Yeah, I hope so. I was hoping you would say that. To talk to other detailers, it's a really good opportunity. Hey,
love it, man. You've just given so much value, and I love it. If people want to connect with you, whether they're in Oz or around the world, how can they find you? How can they pick your brain? I hate to say that because it sounds like a time suck, but for you, because I know you're a busy guy. But how can people get in touch with you?
Now. They can pick my brain all day.
There you go. Love that.
No, definitely not. It's free. First 2 hours are free. Now look, they can just Instagram us or Facebook. Like, obviously, Autofiber Australia is our Autofiber Facebook and Instagram page, or even our business, Clean Getaway Car Detailing. There's the one in Australia. I think there's a few in the US, but or they can you'll have my name in the podcast, so they can always try and message me on Facebook. I try not to add people that I don't really know. It's like, you're from, Texas. I don't know who. I've never met anyone in Texas before. Not that there's anything wrong with Texas. I'll really want to go there. But so maybe message the business side more than the personal side, and I'll definitely get to talk to you there. That'd be awesome.
Cool, man. I appreciate you coming back on the podcast.
Thank you so much for having me, Jimbo, and thanks for all that you're doing, mate. You're doing a fantastic job.